There is an open window between June 3rd and June 14th that is quietly rewriting who you are on the inside. And perhaps you are feeling it without having the words for it yet. A strange weariness of conversations that once fueled you. A thin patience with people who love to hear you explain yourself. A lost interest in goals that a month ago still seemed like yours. Today is June 3rd, 2026. What happens from now on is not dramatic. It is not apocalyptic. There will be no external signs screaming that it has begun. But someone who has been paying attention to themselves over the last few weeks already knows. This window is for those who arrived early. Arriving early in this time frame costs a specific form of loneliness. You feel a subtle resistance to the noise now. It is not anger, it is not sadness. It is just a new preference for silence that wasn't there 6 months ago. Pause here. Perhaps you opened this Vimeo video in the middle of something that seemed important and realized it lost weight along the way. Perhaps you gave up on sending a message today that 3 months ago you would have sent without thinking. Perhaps you are holding an achievement inside because something warned you that showing it now would waste what it is teaching you. This is the window. It is not in the sky, it is not in the planets, it is not outside. It is in an internal layer that moved without asking for your permission. What is most bothersome is realizing that other people still don't see what you have already seen. You are ahead of the curve and no one taught you what to do with this advancement. There is a question that will visit you over these 2 weeks. Not exactly in these words, but in a form that will find you when you least expect it. Perhaps on a walk, perhaps in the middle of a conversation that has gone shallow, perhaps lying in bed in the early hours looking at the ceiling. I will return to this question in a moment. For now, let it remain suspended. What is happening between these dates has a pattern that repeats in every real transition. Before anything changes on the outside, it changes on the inside. You don't see the tree preparing to lose its leaves in autumn. But the chemistry that governs that loss began weeks earlier, when it still felt like full summer. You are in this biochemical, spiritual, vibrational moment. Choose the name that resonates. The energy that will sustain your next form is being stitched together now. In silence, in the dark. Many people will feel discomfort over these 2 weeks precisely because they will try to skip this phase. They will want results, they will demand proof, they will demand a sign from the world that confirms what is happening inside. But the shift was already underway before you noticed. That is why those who were spiritually attentive in the last few weeks arrive at this window with an advantage. Not the advantage of a prize, the advantage of reading. The person who notices first can work with what is happening. The person who notices later reacts to the consequence without understanding the cause. Notice one thing. You are not here by chance. You appeared in this video because some internal filter of yours was already seeking the explanation for what you are feeling. This search, in itself, is the first sign that the advancement already exists. Those who are not ahead of the curve feel no need to search. Comment below the word ahead of the curve if this window is pulsing inside you right now. It is not statistics. It is not interaction for the sake of interaction. It is a marker. Whoever comments this word is recognizing themselves in what is being said, and this act of recognition anchors what is changing. Write it even if no one reads it. The recognition is yours, not the audience's. And now comes the question. I said it would return. What part of your future exists only to impress your past? Read it again slowly. What part of the life you are building today exists not because you want it, but because an old version of you needs to see it? The version that suffered a humiliation at 15, the version that was rejected for a job at 23, the version that heard from family that it would never amount to anything, the version that compared itself to someone at a Christmas dinner and silently decided it would prove them wrong. Look at what these old versions are controlling. Look at how many of your goals exist only so that these versions can finally rest. Look at how much energy you are spending to impress people who don't even live in your life anymore. People who perhaps don't even remember you, people who perhaps have already died. And it is not just in the big things. The old version appears in micro-decisions that escape the radar, in the choice of clothes for a meeting where you want to look competent, in the posture you assume when someone praises you, rehearsed to make it look like you deserve it, without appearing like you need it, in the impulse to send a screenshot of an achievement to the family WhatsApp group. Every time you open the messaging app and reply faster than you needed to, because a part of you cannot bear the idea that the person on the other side might think you forgot. These little things, added up, are where the old version lives. Not in the big events, in the automatic gestures. The villain of these 2 weeks is not external. It is not the system, it is not society. It is not the other person's ego. The villain is the old version of you that hasn't been told yet that it can rest. It keeps driving the car even without knowing where you are going. It will resist in this window. It will bring a sense of urgency for proof. It will whisper that you are wasting time. It will try to convince you that stopping now is giving up. But what is happening here is not giving up. It is a silent redefinition of ambition and desire. Observe. You are losing attachment to goals that once seemed enormous. Here lies the first trap. The old version will interpret this as laziness, as burnout, as sadness. It will scream that you are unmotivated. Because it cannot understand what is happening, it will label it in any way possible to feel like it still has control. But what looks like lack of motivation is honesty arriving slowly. The goals that lost weight because they existed for a version of you that is no longer here. The fuel dried up because the motive died. Those who confuse this with a lack of energy try to force it. They drink more coffee. They make more lists. They hire more coaches. They muster more willpower. Without realizing they are trying to reanimate a corpse. The energy has returned. It just went somewhere else. It is now fueling the real goals, the ones that survived this internal sieve that these 2 weeks are creating. There is an essential difference between building a future and competing with old versions of yourself. Building a future comes from vision. Competing with old versions comes from a wound. In this window, your ability to see this difference will become almost surgical. You will be able to look at a project of yours and feel, in your gut, whether it is born of vision or of a wound. If it is born of a wound, it will be hard work to continue. If it is born of vision, it will be hard work to stop. Here lies a detail that no one tells you. Knowing all this is not the same as being able to sustain it. You will leave this video today with clarity about what is happening. You will recognize every symptom. You will agree with everything. And on Wednesday, around 3 in the afternoon, in the middle of a stupid meeting, you will feel that old impulse to prove something to someone. You will feel ashamed of the impulse. You will try to hide it. You will return home exhausted without understanding why you still fall for it after everything you realized. Because seeing is not the same as sustaining. Between seeing and sustaining there is a layer of practice that doesn't fit into a Vimeo video. This layer is where most people get stuck in this June window. They feel they are changing. They make space to understand what is changing. And then they cannot hold the change in their daily lives because the old version wasn't deactivated with a method. It was only identified, and identifying is not deactivating. The difference between those who leave this window transformed and those who leave feeling they missed a chance lies in this implementation layer. It exists, it is teachable. It has a protocol that respects the breathed rhythm of this phase without forcing urgency where the window is asking for patience. The complete application system is in the first pinned comment below in the Fortune Matrix program. Inside is the map to deactivate the old versions that drive your decisions, the guided practice for the days when the old version screams the loudest, and 90 days of guidance. Brooke joined in February, stuck in a career she sustained only to prove to her family that it had been worth leaving home, and in April she wrote to me saying that for the first time she had made a choice without needing to justify it to anyone. A ridiculous investment compared to the years many people lose keeping old versions in charge. Enrollment for this group closes along with this window on June 14th because the program begins aligned with the cycle that is opening now. There is a 7-day guarantee with no risk for you to test it. For those who are ready, the access is in the first pinned comment. But before you go there, let me show you the next layer, because there is still important stuff to deliver to you in this window. The next layer is the part that many people don't reach on their own. There is a silent confidence that begins to settle in these 2 weeks, and it has a strange characteristic that confuses those who are feeling it for the first time. You will stop wanting to tell people things. There will be achievements you will keep to yourself. There will be plans you will keep quiet. You will begin to build and enjoy internally before showing. Those who are spiritually raw interpret this as fear, as insecurity, as a lack of pride in their own work. But it is the opposite. It is confidence that does not need external validation to sustain itself. The old version needed to post, needed to tell, needed eyes following the process to believe it was happening. The version that is arriving now does not need an audience. It knows it is happening because it is happening, and this certainty is more solid than any applause could ever be. Here lies a detail that deepens this layer. Silent confidence only sustains itself when you deactivate the reflex to tell. The reflex to tell is deeper than it seems. It is not just on social media. It is in casual conversations. It is in answers to parents. It is in explanations you give without anyone asking. It is in that moment when someone asks how you are and you feel, in your throat, the pressure to turn the answer into a small performance of well-being or busyness. Sustaining silence about your own movement is a practice that has technique. It is not just stopping posting. It is an entire reorganization of your relationship with your own narrative, and that takes time, takes guidance, takes layers. Notice what moves when you read this. Perhaps you are realizing now how many times this week you already told someone something that could have been kept hidden. How many times you sought approval for a decision that was entirely yours. How many times you listened to the opinion of someone who doesn't live your life. The shift was already underway before you noticed. Write in the comments the phrase, "I don't owe anyone an explanation for my evolution." Write it even if you feel resistance. Resistance is the old version knowing it will lose space. Whoever writes this phrase is making a small and exact decree. Small decrees repeated create internal structure. Put the phrase down there and breathe. Let's go to the practical effects of this window in your day-to-day life, because that is where the 2 weeks translate into real life without mysticism. The need to impress will diminish. You will feel a certain initial discomfort with this, because the entire social structure of most people is built on the currency of impressing. Work impresses, purchases impress, travel impresses, relationships impress. When this currency loses value for you, entire conversations stop making sense. You will be at a family dinner realizing that half of what is being said is performance, that no one there is showing themselves for real, that everyone is in a small theater trying to be seen. You will be in an elevator conversation realizing that you could have remained silent without it being rude. You will bump into an ex-colleague and realize you have no desire to update the person on what is happening in your life, and that this is not coldness, it is simply clarity about how much that update would not make a real difference for either of you. This is part of what creates the feeling of being misunderstood that I mentioned at the beginning. It is not that no one understands you, it is that you are seeing a theater that others are still acting in. This vision isolates for a short period before transforming into something more spacious. Attention, isolation is not the destination, it is the stretch. Those who accept the stretch cross it. Those who fight the stretch get stuck in it. Along with this comes a new preference for depth instead of volume. You will want fewer contacts with more weight. Fewer conversations, but real conversations. Fewer people, but people who sustain comfortable silence with you. This will stir up old relationships. People will disappear from your schedule without you feeling pain, and this is a sign, not a failure. Other people will resurface with new weight, old friendships that suddenly make sense again, because something matured in both of you at the same time. Some people will feel that you disappeared even while being close. They will demand things from you, and you will have to learn not to justify yourself. This is the thorniest part of this window. Learning not to justify yourself. The old version runs to explain. The new one breathes and stays. Those who stay without explaining realize that the world goes on. No one dies because you stopped justifying. No one abandons you because you didn't give satisfaction. The people who stay, stay because of presence, not because of explanation. Those who leave, leave because the relationship was sustained only by your availability to justify, and those relationships need to be let go, even if it hurts a little at first. Along with this comes clarity of priorities. You will begin to feel almost physically where energy makes sense. There will be good invitations that will give you a feeling of weariness just thinking about accepting them. There will be brilliant opportunities that will leave you indifferent. Here lies a trap. The old version will try to convince you that you are missing the chance of a lifetime. It will scream that you are crazy to refuse. But not everything good is for you. Abundance in this phase is no longer measured by quantity. It is measured by clarity. 5 right opportunities are worth more than 50 confusing ones. 1 true relationship weighs more than 10 superficial ones. 1 aligned project is worth more than 5 that disperse energy. A new criterion of discernment will appear in your gut, a filter that asks a single thing when an opportunity arrives. Does this thicken me or empty me? And this question will be more precise than any pros and cons spreadsheet has ever been. Note what happens when you read this. Perhaps some name is coming up. Perhaps some invitation that is on your schedule this week is already seeming wrong. Perhaps some project that you have been sustaining for months is revealing itself as inertia, disguised as purpose. Here closes something important. Remember I spoke about the feeling of being ahead of the curve and of feeling loneliness because of it? This loneliness is just the phase where you still interpret your vision as a problem. When the clarity of priorities settles in, the loneliness transforms. It becomes space. The same silence that seemed like abandonment becomes breathing. You are not alone. You are, for the first time, at peace with your own company. Here also closes something else. Remember the disinterest in old goals. Now it is possible to see more clearly that it was not disinterest. It was a change of motives. The goals that survive this sieve are yours. The ones that fall away never were. You are not giving up. You are finally being honest about what was yours. Breathe this in. Now comes the part that few people can articulate on their own, because it happens on a subtle plane that escapes common vocabulary. The movements you are feeling now began to happen long before this video. Look back. When you look calmly 3 months from now, you will be able to trace the line. You will see that a decision from February was already the seed of this. You will see that a conversation in April that seemed unimportant was where the turning point truly began. You will see that that night in May when you couldn't sleep and stayed looking at the ceiling without understanding why sleep wouldn't come, was the first moment the old version began to lose control and the body just didn't have words yet for what was happening. You are not starting now. You are recognizing now. Recognition is what gives a name to what already existed. Most people live their lives without ever naming their own movement. What is not named remains in the form of noise. This video is giving you words for a movement that is already yours. And each collective window that opens, like this one in June, is preceded by months of pre-incubation that no one sees from the outside, not even the person who is living it. Those who learn to recognize these months stop being surprised by what appears in the windows. Here arrives what I call accidental honesty. It is a characteristic of this window that is almost impossible to explain to someone who is not feeling it. You will answer things with sincerity before your rational mind has time to filter it. You will tell the truth to someone without having planned to say it. You will refuse something without having rehearsed the refusal. You will admit a feeling without having edited the admission. The old version for years maintained a filter layer between what you felt and what you said. This filter existed to protect you, to maintain relationships, to sustain versions of you that needed approval. In these 2 weeks, this filter becomes thin. Things escape. When they escape, you first feel shame. Then you feel relief. Then you feel that that sentence that escaped was exactly what needed to be said for years. Accidental honesty is the clearest symptom of the window. It is the body refusing to sustain old versions. It is the truth finding a crack. Do not be startled when it happens. Do not try to go back. Do not apologize for what escaped. That was what needed to come out. The shame is the old version reacting. The relief is the new version breathing. Along with accidental honesty comes something broader, a new capacity to live without documenting. You will have good moments that you will simply let exist. You won't want a photo. You won't want a post. You won't even want to tell the person next to you. You will be at a sunset that other people would be photographing, and you will be there, present, without mediation. The sunset will be entirely yours because no one else had access to it. The experience becomes dense because no one stole density from it with a request for proof. Along with this, you will begin to notice the difference between people who empty you and people who thicken you. Those who empty you, You recognized before by tiredness after the meeting. Now you will recognize it in the middle of the meeting. You will feel, in the middle of the conversation, that that energy is asking for too much and giving back too little. You will begin to leave earlier, without drama, without long explanations, just leaving. And the people who thicken you also become clearer. They are the ones who sustain silence with you, the ones who can hear you say something difficult without needing to fix it, the ones who respect you enough not to try to pull you out of a phase just because the phase is uncomfortable. You will want these people closer. You will begin to position yourself so that they are. This is the transformation. It is not doing more. It is being more honest with yourself about what you need to carry and what you can let go of. It is recognizing that there are things you are pursuing only out of inertia, and that can be let go of today without life collapsing. That there are people in your circle only out of habit, and that polite distancing is more respectful than feigned presence. That there are ambitions of yours that exist only because an old version still needs to prove it deserved it. This is the invitation of the next 2 weeks that begin today and go until the 14th. Let what has already fallen, fall. Accept that what lost weight is because it wasn't yours. Trust that what remains will be entirely yours, and that what is entirely yours will sustain a life much more breathed than the one you had been trying to sustain. The shift was already underway before you noticed. Now you know. I want to leave one final question in the air before closing. Not for you to answer now, for you to carry for these 2 weeks. If you didn't need to prove anything to anyone, not to the old versions of you, not to the people who hurt you, not to your family, not to the algorithms, not to the past, not to the future, what would you still choose to build? The part of your future that survives this question is the real part. Everything that falls away is what existed only to impress your past. You can let it go with gratitude, not with anger, not with mourning, with gratitude for what these old versions helped you reach here. They did what they could do, now they can rest. And to close, remember what I said in the middle. This video gave you words, but words without practice dissolve in a week. For those who want to go beyond what they saw today, for those who want to sustain this window after the initial shine fades, the complete Fortune Matrix system is in the first pinned comment. Enrollment closes along with this window on June 14th because the program begins aligned with the cycle that is opening now. Before you leave, comment below in a single word how you are feeling this phase, just one word. Don't think too much. Write the first one that comes to mind. This word is your marker. It will remain there registered as the point where you recognize the window. 2 weeks from now, you return to this comment and see what that word was telling you the whole time. The shift was already underway before you noticed, and you are exactly where you need to be.